Welcome to the
YHELPful Podcast,
where we bridge the gap between teens and adults, discussing everyday life and current events.
Hey everyone, we're back with another episode of the YHELPful Podcast.
My name is William Battle.
My name is Sarah Miles, and we're your hosts for today's episode.
Okay, so the theme for this episode, long anticipated, is back to school. We're going to discuss study habits, relationship management, scheduling, and more.
Getting back to school is really an adjustment that most of us have to face throughout the years. For me, I'm a community college student, so it's a bit difficult when it comes to readjusting with the back to school protocols. You have to pick out classes, do research on your professors, registering, FAFSA, all the things that you have to do. And then getting back in the swing with school after a long summer too can make it, a little bit harder in its own. So today we're just going to give some tips and give some insight on how to set your best foot forward when going back to school.
So first of all, let's talk about time management. And for me, this is arguably the most important thing when it comes to going off to school and trying to do things on your own. I mean, for me personally, I'm at a 4-year university, 800 miles from home. That's a little bit different. It's a little bit of a different story than what you're going through.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge is I don't have anyone and nobody from home, none of my family telling me, hey, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're getting your work done on time, don't spend too much time at esports, don't spend too much time playing basketball, make sure you're getting your work done. So I have to do all that on my own. So the biggest thing was just starting with the calendar, starting with the schedule. I had to make sure I put all my classes on there because you don't want to miss a class, you don't want to miss an interview or an advisor meeting that you have. So whenever you get something, especially at school, it's important to immediately put it down on your calendar because you have a lot going on every day. You have a lot of people in your ear telling you, hey, come do this, come do that. So it's important. That's the biggest thing. And then also find out what works for you in terms of your time. So I personally have never been the one to do all-nighters. I can't be in a library all night and just study, cram. That's not me. I know people that do that and are successful with that, and if that's you, good for you, thumbs up, yay. That's not me. So for me personally, I like to do small bites. So that means just studying in small chunks, whether it's 15, 20 minutes at a time, knocking out homework in 30, 45 minutes, and then going to hang out with friends or going to the court or going to eat, going to dinner with some friends. So I don't do it all at once, and I feel like that's a bad and unhealthy way to do it. Anyway. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, so I agree with that, and I'm definitely not the type either to pull an all-nighter, because my thing is after a while my brain will be too scrambled and then I can't do anything. So I'm just big on spacing everything out. In community college, that's the biggest thing, spacing everything out, because the point of the classes I take, they're all web-based, so the biggest thing is going at your own pace. So what can be intimidating when I sign up for my classes in the syllabus, they'll be you need to spend 46 hours a day on, the workload, and then in my head I'm I can't do that. I can't sit for 46 hours and read a textbook. So when you find what works out best for you, then it comes a lot easier. I don't want to say I don't pay it any mind, but I know realistically I cannot look at a textbook for 4 to 6 hours. Yeah. So if you have deadlines, you have due dates, as long as you get that done within that time frame, however you do it, it does not matter. So I just want that.
No, that's fine. And I feel every class is different as well. I've had classes where the recommended time was say 6 hours a day, like you said, and sometimes for me I'd only spend an hour and a half or 2 hours, and I'd still be able to get an A. So I mean, it really depends on the exams as well, and once you get a couple weeks in, you pretty much need to make the adjustment and figure out what exactly you're gonna need to do in order to be successful. Once you figure that out, don't do too much, don't do too little, because you still have other classes that you need to spend your time and energy on. The second thing I do want to say is make sure you plan fun things. So the same way that you plan to have plan your advisor meetings, plan classes and activities like that, make sure you plan hangouts. Make sure you plan game nights with your friends. Make sure you spend time going to breakfast, talking to people, chatting with your friends, and really taking that time to have that college experience. So that goes into kind of what I was going to say when in terms of taking advantage of the opportunities that college presents. I mean, you're in, especially for me, it's a pretty diverse like school, I'd say, in terms of, the pie chart. Well, even though it's a PWI, it still does have a lot of people who are coming from different backgrounds in terms of economically, or like whether they're coming from different countries, international students. I have the privilege of like meeting and like talking with those people every day. So I always say make sure to engage with different people than you're used to. So here I engage with like a lot of black people. We come from this community, a lot of people who are basically the same as me. But when I go out there, while like I have a lot of black friends, it's still great to like meet new people and see, wow, people are actually like all like really alike. People are really all the same. The mainstream media does not exactly profess like the truth in terms of what you expect from other people. So it's time to get, like, college is an opportunity to get away from stereotypes, get away from like those preconceptions that you may, or misconceptions that you have about other people, and really spend time getting to know people. And I'd also say take classes seriously. You were gonna hop in. Go ahead, seriously.
No, I was. I can't help it. But I like how you said, you brought up engaging. Like, speaking of that, how you said planning fun things. I have having a healthy balance, so it kind of goes hand in hand. But I really am big on, and I know you have to space out things for school, like, the workload and things like that. But in between all that, you definitely should have a balance. It doesn't have to be, going out and partying and things like that. But even if it is walking outside on campus, talking to people, going to eat your lunch, in a more common area and stuff like that. Not everyone might be as social. So, you shouldn't, I don't think you should consume your life with a load of work, honestly. Like, that's just that's what I go by. And I feel like when you do whatever it is, whether it's going out, whether it's laying down and going to sleep, getting some food, talking to friends, going to go play a game, having that time down, and just winding down and be able to take a break from it, I think it's good with, just your success in school.
So, like, the next thing I have is just to take classes seriously. When you're going to college, and I know this might be, if you're in high school, I understand you might be in classes that you don't necessarily want to be in. You might be at a place where you're like, I just want to get away. But like, if you're in college and you're paying for this education, I think it's really important to take the classes seriously. I mean, whether that is like taking notes, making sure you're doing what you need to do to be prepared for each class, be successful, do your homework. You need to do those things because you literally spent your time, money, and energy, and you don't want to get distracted by a lot of different people around you, or different things people are telling you. I mean, I've had people tell me, I'll just skip class, it's really not that important. But I know that if I skip that class, I'm going to have a hard time getting a good grade on the next exam, and they're not going to be the ones who are going to pay for an extra semester of college for me. So you really have to take that on your own shoulders and determine that you're gonna be a great student. You're gonna do it yourself.
Well, I think that comes with having a balance, like how I was talking about, because for me personally, I didn't have a balance when I was in high school, and high school is free. Well, I don't know how it works everywhere else, but here, high school is free. So throughout my high school career, I had so many, not throughout my whole 4 years, but like kind of when I got started, freshman, sophomore, I had so many moments where I didn't have a balance, and I would go out and party every single night, and it caused my grades to slip. But it wasn't until I got to college that I was like, well, if I got a deadline on Tuesday and nothing's done, I'm not going out Tuesday night, because who's gonna pay $500 for my class? You know what I mean? So if you start to build that early on and find a balance early on, it's going to come way easier. Yeah, way easier.
And another thing is just to try new things. At college, don't get too carried away. When I say try new things, I'm not talking about anything crazy or anything like that. But if your college has a rock climbing wall, your college has kayaking, or it has different activities that you might not have even thought about getting involved in, like disc golf, even ultimate frisbee. Like, go ahead and take the opportunity to try that stuff out. Like, you never know until you try. And I feel like that's the biggest thing that college really offers you, is like a wide variety variety of things that you might not have had the opportunity to engage in. You're able to like just try it out and see if it's for you. You never know. You might pick up a couple hobbies freshman year. You might find something that really is your passion. So just try new things as well. I feel like that's really important to do anytime you're in a new place, especially the college sphere. Because you never know, you might pick up a few hobbies. Freshman year, I know I didn't really do any frisbee, or I didn't really do that here, but when I got into it at college, it was a really great experience for me. I met a lot of people there, I had a lot of fun, and it was a new positive outlet. So anytime you have an opportunity to pick up more positive outlets, more like things that you can do to help relieve your stress, more things that you can do to meet new people, I think that's a really huge positive, and you shouldn't let that go.
Yeah, and don't let school be intimidating. I think you should make it your own and commit to what you actually want to commit to. Then it wouldn't feel like such a chore or a force. Continuing education isn't for everyone, and it's not the only gateway to success, depending on what kind of career goals you have. But this might be a hot take, but education doesn't have to be so serious. It could be something, it could be fun. So when you think of back to school, it doesn't have to be, I gotta sign up for classes. It could be, I'm about to, I'm gonna go meet with my friends here, after we get all the big tests and all the work done and stuff like that. So it is something to be serious about in general, because, for most of us, school is not free anymore. But when pursuing education in the area that you actually desire, it makes the experience more enjoyable and
But that is all the time we have for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the YHELPful Podcast and were able to take what was shared to make things easier for you as you continue to tackle the challenges of life. As remember, always, check out more resources and more content at YHELPnow.com and follow YHELP on all social media platforms. Also, you can check out this episode of the YHELPful Podcast and others on YouTube or wherever else you listen to your podcasts.
For more information, follow us at YHELPnow on all social media platforms and check us out at YHELPnow.com for mental health and life skill resources. Tune into the
YHELPful Podcast!
And we hope to be YHELPful.